The Smashing Machine 2025. The film opens with Mark Kerr, a legendary mixed martial artist, sitting alone in a dim locker room, wrapping his hands before a fight. The crowd roars outside, but inside, there is only silence and pressure. Known as the Smashing Machine, Mark has built a reputation as an unstoppable force in the ring. Flashbacks reveal his rise through brutal training sessions and early victories in no-holds-barred competitions. Fame comes quickly, but so does the physical toll. As he steps into the arena, the audience sees a champion, but beneath the surface lies a man already beginning to crack. Mark dominates his opponent in the opening fight, showcasing raw power and relentless aggression. The victory fuels his confidence, but also sets higher expectations. Backstage, reporters swarm him, praising his strength and fearless style. However, his coach notices something troubling. Mark relies heavily on painkillers to get through injuries. What starts as a necessity begins to evolve into dependency. Meanwhile, his personal life shows cracks, as his relationships struggle under the weight of his career. The contrast between his public image and private battles grows sharper, hinting that his greatest opponent may not be inside the ring at all. As Mark's career reaches new heights, he signs major contracts and gains international recognition. Training intensifies, and the pressure to remain undefeated becomes overwhelming. His body suffers constant injuries, but he refuses to rest. Instead, he pushes harder, driven by fear of losing everything he has built. His girlfriend tries to support him, but their relationship becomes strained due to his mood swings and emotional distance. The addiction deepens, clouding his judgment and affecting his performance. Despite the cheers of fans and the glow of success, Mark begins to feel trapped in a cycle he cannot control. A pivotal fight changes everything. Mark enters the ring confident, but something feels off. His timing is slower, his reactions delayed. For the first time, he struggles against an opponent. The match becomes brutal, with both fighters pushing beyond their limits. Mark barely manages to win, but the victory feels hollow. Backstage, he collapses from exhaustion and pain. Doctors warn him that his body cannot sustain this level of punishment. Instead of listening, Mark becomes defensive, refusing to accept weakness. This moment marks the beginning of his decline, as denial replaces discipline and pride clouds his decisions. Mark's addiction spirals further out of control. Painkillers are no longer enough, leading him to stronger substances. His training suffers and his focus diminishes. Coaches and teammates begin to lose faith, but no one can reach him. His girlfriend finally confronts him, urging him to seek help, but he pushes her away. Isolation takes hold as he surrounds himself with enablers instead of support. The once disciplined fighter becomes unpredictable and volatile. Despite this, he continues to accept fights, believing he can maintain his legacy. Deep down, however, he knows he is losing control over both his career and his life. Another major fight exposes Mark's deteriorating condition. He enters the ring visibly exhausted and unfocused. His opponent capitalizes on every mistake, dominating the match. For the first time in his career, Mark is defeated in a devastating loss. The crowd falls silent as the legend collapses. This defeat shatters his identity, forcing him to confront the reality he has been avoiding. Media criticism intensifies, and his reputation begins to crumble. Alone and broken, Mark faces the consequences of his choices. The loss is not just physical. It marks the emotional and psychological collapse of a man who once seemed invincible. Following the loss, Mark withdraws from the public eye. He struggles with depression and worsening addiction, hitting rock bottom. Financial problems begin to surface as his career opportunities disappear. In a moment of clarity, he revisits old footage of his fights, remembering the passion that once drove him. This reflection sparks a desire for change. With encouragement from a former coach, he reluctantly agrees to enter rehabilitation. The process is painful and humbling, forcing him to confront his inner demons. For the first time, Mark begins to rebuild himself, not as a fighter, but as a person seeking redemption. Recovery is slow and filled with setbacks, but Mark remains determined. He reconnects with his family and attempts to repair broken relationships. Training returns to his life, not as a means of dominance, but as a path to discipline and healing. He mentors young fighters, sharing his experiences and warning them about the dangers of fame and addiction. Through helping others, he begins to rediscover his purpose. Though he still carries the scars of his past, both physical and emotional, Mark starts to see a future beyond the ring. The Smashing Machine is no longer just a fighter. It becomes a symbol of resilience. An opportunity arises for Mark to return to the ring for one final fight. This time the stakes are different. It is not about titles or fame, but about proving to himself that he has changed. He trains with focus and clarity, free from the influence of substances. The fight is intense but controlled, showcasing his growth and discipline. Regardless of the outcome, Mark fights with honor and self-respect. The audience witnesses not just a competitor, but a man reclaiming his identity. This final match becomes a defining moment, symbolizing closure and a new beginning. The film concludes with Mark stepping away from professional fighting, choosing a life centered on balance and purpose. He opens a training facility, helping others pursue their dreams while avoiding the mistakes he made. His journey becomes an inspiration, showing that even the strongest can fall, but also rise again. As he watches his students train, there is a sense of peace in his expression. The legend of the Smashing Machine remains, but it is no longer defined by violence alone. It represents strength, vulnerability, and the courage to change, leaving a lasting legacy far beyond the cage.